Alright, I'm recording. Okay, let's try this out. I'm playing with the Open Broadcaster Studio. And let's see. It's time for another video. And I thought I might do a how-to. A little quick one. And let's just see what we got here for our transitions. We're playing with the new software here. This is kind of cool. Alrighty then. So this is a auger engagement cable, I guess you could call it. This is off of a Craftsman snowblower made by MTD. And part number for this cable, I don't know if this is going to show up on the camera or not. My webcams aren't the best, but we're playing with them anyway. It's just something new to play with the software. So this part number is MTD part number 746-04230A alpha. A is an alpha. Anyway, this particular cable come off a customer's machine, which is a father of a good friend of mine. He had to pull on this cable by hand to get his machine back up to his shed after the snow. And so I ordered him a new cable. It was not very expensive for these cables. They're not that bad when you get them in the aftermarket. I have a few different suppliers. I've got Stens, I've got Oregon, I've got Rotary. You know, I've got all the different suppliers for the different things, and I've got the original manufacturer at MTD. I can get the original MTD cable as well. So this is the off this machine. So I figured I'd say, okay, show you how to. If you have something like this hanging around, this is a Z-bend for putting on the end of a cable, control cable, and this just happens to fit on this end of this cable. Called the cable stop. This is an Oregon part number, not Oregon. This is a Rotary part number. Sorry, 05-14819. And if you're on the Rotary website, just the 14819 will get you one of these, and maybe your local shop's got one or two or something like this. This is something I think, you know, everyone should have on hand. I ordered a couple of them last week just because I knew I'm going to need one of these days to resurrect something from the dead, whether it be a control cable for a choke or a throttle, or one of these control cables for the drive or the auger mechanism. So it just broke off at the Z-bend, and because the machine wasn't assembled correctly, the way the handle was, the way this went in the handle, the lever, this was kind of at an angle. Let's see, there we go. So it's kind of on a weird angle the way it was going in there. So of course it broke off at the Z-bend, which is cast. So what we're going to do, we're going to measure. There's lots of adjustment on the back of this machine, so if you did take a little bit of this length, it's not going to even be noticeable when you put it back on. You've got lots of adjustment there. So what we're going to do is we're going to strip off the jacket like it was any kind of wire. Very carefully strip that off. You can do this with a knife, whatever. I'm just going to use a pair of wire strippers. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. It's a pretty heavy duty jacket on this. Well, that wasn't meant to come off there now, was it? There we go. We got her stripped off. Now, what I'm hoping is, I could do this without a little bit of solder, but I'm going to do this with some solder. I'm going to turn my headlight on my hat because I can't see very well. Got my soldering iron here. We got my roll of solder on the top of the bench here. My electronic solder, a little bit of flux would probably make this easier, but I'll use the rosin core flux in my solder. And hopefully my little soldering iron is hot enough. I don't have to run outside and get the soldering gun out of the van, which is where I leave it usually most of the time. So we'll try. We'll put a little solder on that. And we'll tin this up a little bit, see if we can get this hot enough to take some solder. Let's see, just a little solder to get some heat transfer. Oh, I don't think this is going to be hot enough. But we'll try it. Well, we got enough cleaning tip, which I already cleaned it. I want this to get nice and hot. Spread some flux on that. Get some flux there. And some flux there. If I was using the soldering gun, this might be a little bit easier. As you can see, I've got a silicone mat here. It's actually a silicone baking sheet from the dollar store. They work great for your bench tops because you can't melt them with the soldering iron. Oh, here we go. The solder might flow soon here. A little bit of solder in this. That's all we're going to need. That'll start flowing soon. It's only a little tiny soldering iron, so it's going to take a while for this to heat up. The soldering gun would have been the best idea. But anyway, hindsight's 20/20. I was just a little too lazy to run to the van. So we put a little solder into that cable. To keep it from getting frayed and make it so it's going to make a good bite when we connect this inside that cable stop there. And we'll heat your best friend here. There, tinned her up pretty decent. Okay, so we got a little bit of solder soaked into that sucker, and simple as this. So you don't really need the solder, this would work without it. See how nice that fits in there, and that just goes in like that, and we'll just fire that in nice and tight, as far as that's going to get in. Want to make sure you've got to have enough all the way as deep as it can go, which is exactly that. Get that in there like so. The rubber jacket inside there as well. And simply take your little socket handle or your screwdriver. I'm just going to do this with my small bench screwdriver for electronics, just to tighten it on there good. And bam. There you go. That would get you through the rest of a snowstorm. How is that? So for a couple of dollars, I mean, these cables probably aren't much more than, I charge about 15 bucks for one of these, taxing out the door, Canadian. I'm a parts dealer, so I get wholesale, so I can make it so I can charge decent prices for folks, make it so it's not expensive. So if you're in the middle of a snowstorm where like I said, if I don't have one of these in stock and someone needs one later that day, there's my fix. That would get them out of a bind. There you go. So always keep something like this on hand for your small engine repair. You never know when it could get you out of a job. Get you through the job, out of a bind. Rock on, quick one done.